all, this is Cindy. I'm the Tireless Tangler, and you've arrived at lesson 12 in our Tangled Ribbon Flower project. Thank you all so much for being with me today. We have got a fun, brand new pattern to teach you. It is called Flish, and it is by Mimi Topping, CZT. So it's very simple, but there's lots you can do with it in play. So let's get started. So Flish is based on a square grid. Those are always problematic for me. Hopefully you guys have an easier time with this. Just the square part, that's the only part I have trouble with. All right, so this is a reasonable facsimile of a square grid. So the first step is going to make these long rice shapes from one corner to the next, or to the diagonal corner opposite. And just put one of those in each square diagonally. Now, there's another version I'm going to show you with these turned slightly. And so I'm going to show you what that looks like here in a minute. But let me do this basic one first. Oops. I always hate rubbing up against the edge. That always causes me issues. And we got fans ticking and clicking everywhere. Hopefully y'all have got one running at your house too, so we won't be disturbing you too much. So of course, a neater job is always nice. But I think you're going to find that this pattern is really forgiving and very simple and lots of fun for embellishing. So the next thing you want to do is you want to cap each of these free corners, each of the corners where you did not draw anything. You want to cap them off with this little quarter circle. Okay? Just top and bottom, or side to side, whichever way you've got your tile turned, and whatever way is comfortable for your hand, and that you feel you have good pen control, which is also problematic for me. Now, like I told you earlier, we're going to do a version where we turn these opposite each time, and that's going to make a cool meta pattern. But I really like the basic one as well. So now what we're going to do is we're going to connect to the middle each of these little capped little quarter circles, just like this. And we're going to line them up so that they look like they're coming through hollabah fashion and look like they're going underneath. Now, this pattern is based on the flying fish that Mimi used to see at her mother's house and in Florida. Excuse me. And so these definitely have a flying fish type of a feel to them. And these are, I suppose, representative of the little wings or fins or whatever they call them. No marine biology here, I don't know. So really, really very simple. I think that for me, the hardest part was getting my little wings to line up correctly on each side of the little rice shape, or the fish. And some are going to be nice, and some of them, you know, may be a little bit interesting, like this one's about to be. But just go with it. And once you get it done, looky there, it doesn't look so bad. This looks like he's going in one direction. So when you play with this a little bit, you'll see it's very simple to draw. There's, a bit of a learning curve with the little wing things, but for the most part, it comes out exactly as you put it down. And the next part is to just put a little eyeball, a little fish eye, or a dot, an orb, just right on one end. Now, of course, any or all of these elements can be changed up to make something new and interesting. It just depends on what you want to do. The last step is to put these little hatched lines or little short marks, or I'm not sure how she means them. I look at them as flicked lines, and so that's what I am going to do. I'm sort of treating them like the little flower flicks that I do. I have trouble with those too. All right. But you can see, very, very simple. And she sometimes has 3 in her step out art, sometimes has 2. It really is dictated by the width, I think, of the little wing shape. Excuse me, wing shape. I don't know why I'm so hiccupy. Hiccupy. So, you can do whatever you like in there, but this is Flish in its basic form. All right. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a different way to set this up. All right. This version is also based on a square grid, of course. We're not going to do anything differently, really. We're just going to change one aspect of this, and you're going to see it's going to make a cool meta pattern. I think you guys are really going to like it. So we start exactly as we did the last time with these elongated sort of rice shapes. And now, instead of doing them all the same direction, we're going to turn our tile just a bit and do them opposite directions in each square as we go. We're just going to turn the tile slightly and put it in the other direction so that we end up with flower shapes, or in the other alternative, we have these sort of diamonds that are left in the middle. Like that. And here you can see the flower petal shape, right? Like this. So you will see as we put in the rest of the steps here, what a difference this this version can make. Now, I'm always about the flowering stuff, so that's my natural go-to, so I like this version. Now, remember on the last version, we put our little quarter circle caps on the edges of these of this grid, right? But now what we're going to do is we're going to put one all on each one of these, and we're going to end up with a little circle right there. Okay, so the easiest way to make that work well for you is to, draw a circle there. Just like this. And that way all of your squares have lined up beautifully into this portion. Same thing here. Where these lines are crossing, you're just going to draw an orb right around that. And of course on the sides here, we're just going to have half circles. There may be another half of that circle somewhere else, but it is not here. So drawing it in this way makes it really nice so that you can match your sections up. All right. Now we can draw in our wings. That's what I'm going to call them because that just works for me. You know what I'm talking about. Take your time. And each of these wings now is going to draw together, and this is going to look very woven and very much a hollabah type of a thing. And of course, most of you know that hollabah is the pattern where we learn to draw behind. And all of a sudden, you see the meta patterns emerging. I happen to think that this has a couple. At least it does for me. Meta patterns, I mean. That one ended up skinny and straight. But you'll see, it just fits right in like everything else. When you stop focusing on what you see as errors and start focusing on each stroke of the pen, the rest of that stuff takes care of itself most of the time. I have to have my caveats. Last one. There. Now. And now the embellishing can begin. Let's look at some of the options we have here. Instead of putting our little eyeball shape, we can draw in this. This is also an idea she had in her step out art that I really, really like. These sort of C shapes with their backs touching, or these parentheses shapes that are set opposite each other. She also has, let's see, what's the other one? She has got some examples of using little C shapes to bring some dimension to these fish entities, the rice shape, this. So just adding in these little C shapes helps that illusion that this is a rounded entity. Yes. Now, as I draw this, I realize that the direction in which you curve these may or may not bother you. I don't know. If you do them all the same way as I am doing, then you're going to end up with something that's inconsistent as far as the directionality goes. And I'm not going to realize that until it's too late here. So do them as you will. I think in the overall thing, it's not going to matter at all. Okay, so yes, each of these little C shapes is going to help us with that illusion of roundness. Okay, so now we can add in our hatch lines as per usual, or, I mean, along the wings. Actually, first, let's put an inside aura here and see what it looks like if we ink that in. That's going to be a cool effect, I think. And that's also something we can dot a little jelly roll on later if we want to add a highlight to that. Sort of button it. We can also do hatch lines. We can do them vertically or horizontally, or we can do a cross hatch where we do both. Mine usually aren't this uniform, but, you know, it's Friday. Well, for you, it's Saturday. It looks like the head of a microphone, doesn't it? Anyway, for those of you who have used microphone, know. So you can aura the insides of these. I think that's a really awesome idea. And then you could stripe these if you wanted. I don't know if I would sparkle these in this instance. I'd have to think about that. I think it'll turn out well if you do it this way. And if you get turned around, remember that these flicks come from the body of the fish and move out from there. But you can also do it like this. This will give some texture and dimensionality to what's traveling beneath, but it's actually going to look like it's traveling beneath instead of coming out from each side as it does when you put the little flicks in there. So I do like that version as well. I was thinking about orbing this, and you could orb these shapes as well. Something I don't think I got in on this example, but yeah, you could aura the outsides. Also, a different look. Then, you know, embellish to your heart's content. Make little buttons, little perfs, whatever. Sometimes I think I have a lazy mouth. Sometimes I do. So these are a few examples, some really good examples of some of the things that you can do with this pattern. And we can also aura the insides of these little diamond shapes. Sort of in the interstices. And I am inking these, but of course you don't have to. You could do something completely different. And that is one of the good things about this pattern, is that it's got lots of room for playing around and seeing what's what. And you should check out the step out art for sure on Tangle Patterns. She's got some beautiful Zias that feature this pattern. And on her step out, she also has multiple versions of how you can turn this. So I accidentally did this off camera. Basically, I just, with my pen, I drew some squared lines down here so that we have some little squares to work with. And then with my 01 in brown, I'm going to make these alternating little almond shapes, little rice shapes. And I'm going to turn slightly each time so that they're going in opposite directions. I just feel like the embellishing possibilities are so nice like this. And so take your time, do a nice job. Corner to corner. Slow down so that you've got some nice pleasing shapes. These are just slight C shapes. And we're just going to pretend that's the end of the square right there, because, you know, it is. I didn't plan it that way, but, you know, when it works out, it works out. Now, if I were truly doing a great job here, I would sort of bend this so that it looked like it was going over. But I think spatially with these, I think it's going to be fine the way it is. So I'm not going to worry about it. So over here, back here behind, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fake a line coming down here towards the bottom. And then on this one, we're going to sort of fake a line coming in there at the top. All right. This one is going to be obscured a little bit. We're not going to worry about it too much. Okay. So now we're going to add in our little half circles here, since we won't be able to put a full circle on this one. We're just going to put little half circles here. Like so. That's a quarter. Because you got to start somewhere, right? Well, I love drawing them in this way so that they're nice and even from space to space. All right, and then so we're going to have one of those here. And so this will go all the way around, okay? And just like that, we have created our illusion. Now, I did forget to do these. So if this is coming up, this would go down. We're going to sort of do this. And so if this is going to go down, then we're going to have a half circle here. Just sort of phone it in, do the best you can. It's going to be fine. All right? So now my goal is to make this pleasing, if possible, a pleasing curve here for our little wing shapes. Take your time, Cindy. Slow down. Whoops, did that one interestingly. Have an extra cool dynamic there. That's how I choose to look at it. Let me put this one in. These are going to be skinny minis. All right. And so now, since this one's going to be in the forefront, we're going to try to do a really nice job on it. Or what we're calling a nice job. All right. I'm going to shift this so we'll look at these over here. And like that, and we'll just do that. The rest of that is too tight to care. So let me do this one last one. Turn it around actually, so that you guys can see. Okay, all right. So now I need to decide what version of this am I going to use. Am I going to really dress it up, like in this, or am I going to do something basic, like in that? And I think maybe I want to do sort of a little of both. I think I definitely want to dress it up. But I like some of the basic elements. So let's see what I come up with, because I still don't know. So one of the things I really like are the little flicked lines that come out from the sides. So I'm going to keep that. I think that adds a little bit of texture to the wing parts. Just a little bit of interest. Should enhance our shading a bit. Remember, you're going from the body or the rice shape out on your flicks. Okay? And you can put as many or as few as you want there. Now on these little circles here, I am definitely going to make an aura. Careful aura, I hope. And then I'm going to ink these in, and I may switch and use my pen. I just like the lighter brown that comes with this. So I'm going to do that on all of them. Okay, so out from here. And I remind you of where it's coming out from, because that will confuse me too. So it never hurts to be reminded, right? So by adding a little bit of the ink here, that automatically makes this pretty dynamic. As Maria and Rick like to say, add a little drama. Nothing wrong with that. Well, I mean well on these. I keep getting too far over on the sides. All right, that's pretty good. Again, I'm not going to sweat it too much. So now what I want to do is, I think I like these little half moon or quarter moon or crescent moon shapes that we have. She's got amazing step out art, so you should really go to Tangle Patterns and check that out. All right. And this does not have to be perfect. I think you will find once you get it all drawn in that it's really not that big of a deal. If something's a tiny bit off, it's a pretty forgiving pattern. And I was able to draw it right off the bat. So I think you guys are gonna like it. It's not flowery or necessarily pretty, but it can be bold, and it leaves you lots and lots of embellishing possibilities. So I definitely like that. So one of the things I was kind of wanting to try with this was to put one of these little eyeballs, but on each side, these little blacked in orbs or inked in orbs. So I'm going to do that. They look a little lonely out there by themselves. So I really like this. It looks like several other patterns that I can't think of any of the names. So I think now I'm going to add an internal aura on each of these sections, okay? Now I'm not going to worry about that down here. We've got so much going on. I don't think anybody's going to notice. Something like that. Again, this is mostly for just, you know, for visual, you know, nobody expects this back here to be ornate and perfect, right? It's just supposed to give a hint that something is going on there, and then you don't worry about it, okay? All right, so I'm going to draw these inner auras now and try to take my time. I don't know what I'm going to do in them yet. Probably ink them. But I could change my mind. Okay. So I frequently do change my mind, don't I? Which is why God made me female, so that I had that prerogative. Alright, slow down. You move too fast. Gotta make the moment last just. Kicking down cobblestones. Do-do-do-do. Feeling groovy. I love that song. Simon and Garfunkel, 59th Street Bridge, or 58th Street Bridge, 56th Street Bridge. I don't know which bridge it is, but 56? Simon and Garfunkel, that was a good time. Hello, lamppost, what you know? You gotta get... I don't know all the words. But every time I think slow down, that song comes into my mind. All right, so I guess I have decided to ink in these little spots that I aura'd. And again, by adding the aura, just give a little separation to the pattern, and that's a really important thing when you've got a lot going on like I do here. Because I do like a lot going on in my stuff. I had a fun live class with Annie Oaken today. She taught a Flish pattern that they did in Project Pack 10. It's lots of fun, lots of good shading advice in there if you want to check it out. I'm sure she'll have it available to the public at some point in the next few days. And I'm still telling you, I don't do shading like she does shading. She is amazing with the shading. And as much as I try, I get very impatient with it after a while. I'm like, I don't care this much. And I need to care a little bit more, clearly. Simba says woof and hi. He's coming right back, buddy. He'll bring the boys with him. He's not going to be happy. We have been watching the little ones, and he is being a teenager and not wanting to help out. Come on, Simba, up. Up. Here. Here. He'll be right back. Atta boy. Good boy. All right, lie down. Atta boy. Good deal. Oh, it's hot out today. It's in the high 90s, I think. And whew. But we're feeling groovy. Feeling groovy. Sorry, I got the song in my head now. I can't stop. Okay, I think that's right. Okay. Now that Simba is comfortable and I am hot, he's a lot of dog. 120 pounds of love, that's what he is. All right, I really do not know here. Just gonna ink a couple of spots and hope they look good. Because honestly, you know, who knows about this stuff? And, you know, by the time we get it shaded, it won't make any difference at all. Oops, I missed a spot right here. There. Now, the question is, what do we do with it now? All right, so initially, I'm gonna grab my blue violet Verithin, and I'm gonna put a little bit right here on the sides where these little wing shapes come out. Just a little bit. I don't want to do too much. Do need to sharpen this a little bit. Yeah, that's a good sharp point. And I could do graphite, but since I have just become enamored with these colorful looks, Simba, settle, buddy, settle. Since I've become enamored with the colorful looks, I think I'm going to go ahead and continue that. I did try to lift up some of my color over here, and I'm thinking that if I come in with my colored pencils, that I may be able to make it look a little bit more similar to what I've got going on. There's nothing wrong with it. I just changed my mind mid-flow. Then, okay, when you've got a curl like this, you're going to want a lot of shading on it, okay? So anywhere where there's overlapping, you want to shade on the part that looks like it is underneath, all right? So in this instance, we've got two of those spots, right? We've got the spot right here where we would naturally shade anyway, right? But we've also got this. Now, it's really important to have some differentiation here. And again, I'll tell you, you don't want to learn shading from me. If you want to really learn how to do this, then get one of Annie Oken's lessons, because she's awesome. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and blend this. And I'm going to focus for a few minutes on the shading of this element right here. And So I'm going to take my black Verithin, okay? This is what's left of my black Verithin. It's time to get some more. And I'm going to deepen my shading right here. But more so, I'm really going to darken this. None of this needs to be particularly interesting. We want all of this to sort of fade back. And I may come back in here almost certainly with a graphite pencil and make this even darker. And if I get spots like this, and I'm going to use my Tombow Mono Zero. It's my little eraser. Mono Zero by Tombow. Somebody said in comments this was 2.3 millimeters or something like that. Sorry. You guys are so good to me by giving me that information. Thank you, whoever that was that told me. Was that Marilyn Blakely, maybe? Thank you, Marilyn. And if it wasn't you, thank you to whoever did. All right, so now we've darkened this bit, and so I'm going to focus for a little while right here and see what I can do color-wise to sort of give this some interest and make it kind of similar to what we've got going on in other places. So this is my Verithin Aquamarine. And I'm going to look at some places like this right here. And just start adding some touches of color. It doesn't have to be much. And it doesn't have to be the same color on each one. As a matter of fact, this is my True Green Verithin. This is a little bit more of a bluish green than, say, your spring green or your apple green. These have a lot more yellow in them. Now I'm going to shade these middle elements after I put the color down. And I want my magenta as well. Hopefully that is in here too. Yes, it is. I'll do this one. And of course, since these are Verithins, they can be blended to a certain extent. And they go over the ink so nicely without obscuring your lines like a regular colored pencil would. Certainly the Prismacolors will. I'm about to find out if that is true with some others. Let's see. Let's do a little blue-green here. Oh, whoops, that's not good. We're about to find out if I can erase that, aren't we? Okay, so this will dress it up a little bit. I like that. So let me get out. I'm still looking for my violet Verithin. I have not been able to find it anywhere. And I don't like that because I like the violet thing. Let's go back to my blue violet and go ahead and give these wings a little bit more oomph. That's a technical term. Don't ask me to define it for you because I can't. It just means oomph. Make sure if you're gonna use these pencils in this way for shading, that you do a nice blend out so that you don't have any sharp lines. And of course, Again, you can use your tortillon to blend this a bit. But, you know, if you can learn to start heavy on the inside and lighten your stroke as you move out, that's a good technique to use with pencils of any kind. I have trouble with that. When I get out a little bit, my hand starts to jerk. So that's a little bit frustrating for me. But can be done. Can be done. Now, once again, I will come back through here with my black Verithin to sort of re-emphasize the shading and spots. But I really like, excuse me, I really like this dynamic. And I'm going to add this over the black Verithin here, because I don't want this to be so dark and black. Which, of course, it needs to be dark and black, doesn't it? But something like this, okay? And I'm liking this. I feel like I should do something, or maybe I should just shade that, or, or what? That is the question. I'm just going to add a little bit of this black right along the edge here. Emphasize that overlapping. And so now, let's try this, see how it goes, and if it's terrible, I can erase it. So I'm thinking of shading this sort of like it's rounded here. And so if I did that, then I would want a fairly dark shade right along this edge. Not as dark as that, but fairly dark shade right along this edge here. And then sort of a wide light shade right here, across here. And then we leave this, it's not reflected light, it's, what does she call that? I had a class with Annie Oken today, and great class on Flish, and I really enjoyed it. But she was talking about that little light residual. No, that wasn't it. I'll think of it. I'll think of it. But yeah. Well, it does pop this up, but I'm not sure how effective my middle shading spot is here. We sort of need more of a highlight in here. Okay, so I do like this part. I'm not a fan of this. So what we can do instead is just put a nice dark shade right along the edge here. We'll just do that. Even though I'm not a fan, I still think it works. And then out here, we want a nice dark shade. And this is the reason that this Tombow Mono Zero eraser is so awesome, because you can put that little bit of light along the edge there without getting yourself into too much trouble, which is a place I live, which I'm glad not to live there. Well, It definitely dulls out the colors. And of course, as I'm wont to do, I always go back in after my shading and re-emphasize some of the stuff that gets lost in translation, meaning grayed out lines and such. Okay. Okay, so let's do this about the same way. And let's put our shadow, I don't know. There's really, in Zentangle, you can shade this the way you want. I, even though I had a lesson with Annie today, that level of shading that she does is time consuming. So I don't have time for all that here. Just a little bit of shade here. Okay, so that's not so bad. And now we'll move over here and do the same. Now I am really barely touching right there. And there will be a limit to what we can do with shading in this small space, but some good can be done. And I think even this little bit is nice here, adds some good elements here. So let's continue. We've just got 2 more. Remember, you want to shade heavy and skinny on one side, and then put a light, very light touch on the center and leave a little white line right there along the edge. Then I'm going to reapply my colored pencil here. Okay. We'll just put a hint there. And let's see. All right. Okay. So, a little more color. And we are going to call it a day. I am actually really looking forward to going back to a more traditional sort of format. I think it's tough because, you know, it can be dull if you're doing the same thing every day the same way. However, I really enjoyed the 100 Days project, and I don't see why we can't go back to at least using traditional tiles in a more traditional way. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And so we'll see what the future brings, but we'll definitely still be meeting regularly together to tangle. All right, a little more blue violet here. All right. Okay. I like that. You know, it's definitely different from the rest of them, but still dynamic in its own way. So I think that turned out really well. I'm still going to be playing with this one and this one, so don't fret. I'm going to see what I can do to sort of make them blend a little bit better with the rest. But I'm having fun playing with these, and I hope you guys are too. All right, guys, I'm going to see you next time for our 5th ribbon. And we are on the down home stretch, or the downhill stretch, the last step, okay? So I'm going to see you next time. Thank you all so much for being with me today, and hugs from Oklahoma. Many hugs from Oklahoma. I'll see you guys soon.